Let's start with one of the positive things. You've mentioned that education is one of the fields where there have been positive developments. We also know that health is a bright spot for fuller participation in the Israeli economy, where Arab citizens are advancing dramatically, and there is wide acceptance by professionals and the public. What can we learn and apply from education and health to the rest of the economy? And that's for any of you to start.
Always when we speak about the Ministry of Health in Israel, because it's the only ministry that a representation of Arab is in high rates. And I ask myself two questions. Whether the answer is because it's dealing with life or death, they don't mind if the doctors or nurses are Arab or not. Or the opposite question. Despite that we are dealing with life and death, they hire our people. I don't have answer, but I think that I have a feeling that the answer is like a snowball. Once the system had a wonderful and excellent Arab doctors, and we have here MD, Arab doctor woman. I was surprised to see her here. She's my friend. So afterwards, the thing came like, it's not a big issue. And when I started my career, I worked after the high school as a secretary in the emergency room in the hospital. And I saw a lot of doctors and nurses. And 2 or 3 years afterwards, I began to hear that those Arab doctors are head of departments and they are managing hospitals. So once it happened in a place, it's the future, and that's the thing, and that's what we aim, innovate to have, like Ifat said about the high-tech field. So we want to put those people in the right place, not just in the low-entry positions in the workforce market.
If I may add, if the Arab doctors can have our heart and our brain, they for sure can write our software. So it's basically a matter of getting used to it. A snowball, we need to start the snowball. And it will start with the first Marvat in Procter & Gamble, and the first one in Cisco, and the first one in many, many others. So what is a software among our heart?
We have two major positive projects in this term. The former President Peres, he was the head of Mantec project, which is a coalition of 25 high-tech companies in Israel, the leading companies in Israel, and each one of the general directors of these companies took a responsibility to hire academic Arabs in his company. And in the last year, we have about 1,500 Arab engineers that entered the high-tech company. So I think that the snowball started in the last years, and I hope that the numbers will increase significantly in the coming years. Regarding the education, on the one hand, this is a positive news that the Arabs they got educated and they got higher degrees, BA and MA and doctors, but when they finish, with the college and universities and they come back to the labor market, they faces a lot of problems. And today we have over 8,000 Arab students in Jordan studying medicine and studying other, fields. We have more than 6,000 Arabs studying in Europe. We have students in the States and even in Canada. And there are thousands or even hundreds of Arabs coming back every year, and they're looking for jobs. And they can't find, jobs, quality jobs, in their own towns or villages, because lack of industrial zones, all these things. So what I'm saying here is the challenge, of the government, the challenge of the Israeli business sector is very, very, very big. I mean, we have to attract and to bring back, this enormous human capital that Israel needed, and to invest more in the periphery, in the south and in the north, for Arabs and for Jews, not only for Arabs. And to give these people the opportunity to work and to be part of the labor market. Otherwise, by the way, we see that today, that a lot of Arab young people, doctors with PhD, they're leaving the country and they're moving to Europe, they're moving to the US, and moving to Canada and otherwise. So I think that Israel is losing this enormous human capital, and we have to deal with this issue.
Thank you. For the non-government organizations, do you want to expand on what you need from government in terms of budgets, leadership, labor market regulation, other legislative tools?
We need to work closely together to develop models that can be adopted by the government in order that it will not be 50 each year, it will not be 60 each year, it will be 300, it will be 400. So we need the budget, we need the awareness, and we need the partnership of working together.
Okay. Here's the hard one. What can we here do to help and support you and other people who are seeking positive change?
I want to answer you by answering the previous question with this question. I never, I'm not good in lobby work. I wasn't, I'm not good now. I'm not the one that's going to fight for things. It's not my personality. I think that it's a very important thing to do, but it's not me. It's not the organization that I work for. I felt like I used to work as independent consultant after I was in management positions in private sector afterwards in the university, and before starting working with NJDC, I was independent consultant, and I felt like something was missing. The thing is, the communities need a change and need something in a high level from the government, and the government sometimes sometimes doesn't know how to work with those communities. And those communities are right that they are saying no one helping us, no one dealing with our challenges and problems. And what I do in my organization and the way that we work is this missing thing, to put together the government and the communities to show that it could work, and to have these programs and pilots to give them and to go to the next step to another intervention and strategical initiatives. So that's the way I believe that I can do and help. And I have to say that I love my work. So I think that UGA or other federations, if they can see where's the key intervention that they can invest for, that's help a lot.
I think that things like this and the awareness is a critical issue, especially when talking with the Federation and Foundation. From my point of view, working with Arabs in Israel is the new Zionut. So basically things like this can help us, and also budget that can help us develop models that can be implemented by him.
Would you care to respond to that?
He will.
They just threw a lot on your plate.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, the government has the main role, to change the situation, but without partners, without the philanthropists, without the NGOs, without the private sector, without the local community, we can't make the change. I mean, we need, to work together, all the partners, to make the change. And what I expect from you is few things. First of all, if you care about Israel, you should care also about the Israeli Arab society. And you should all the time, put this issue on the agenda. Don't leave it behind. It doesn't matter if we have a political, event or wars. I mean, this issue, this internal issue, I think it is the most strategic issue of the country in the next decades. Other major thing is that to continue to support the NGOs that really doing a great job. I mean, if that the JDC or the other NGOs like IFAD is running and the other NGOs that are doing a great job. And also leveraging, the governmental budget. And I think some of the projects that we showed here, there were great examples for working together, government, philanthropy, NGOs, and we should continue with these things.
This isn't on my list of approved questions, but I'm just curious at this stage. There's very little awareness of any of this here. How much awareness is there of these initiatives in Israel? When you go to the private corporations, what kind of response are you getting?
From the business sector,
Yes.
and also not the civic society, there is no awareness. It's all around me when people hear that what we are doing and who we are dealing with. So I must say, very honest, that for them it's not the new Zionut, it's something else. Employers see the potential, but there is a long way with the new pioneers that will bring their friends, and from there.
I think that the awareness in the government is very high, as I said before and as Aiman emphasized before. Within the employers, it's part of our work, and we are in the middle of the process. We have several ways working with employers. One of them is the Israeli Forum of Diversity, that David was one of the organizations that established this forum a few years ago. And in this forum we have high-tech companies, and we have big employers in Israel, as Coca-Cola, for example. And we have philanthropy, and we also have the government with us when we need. So we do several activities, but one of the big challenges is this. And we want to prove that diversity is something that you can get a lot of benefit of it. Hiring someone different is a good thing. It's not a bad thing for the company, and it's a process.
Yeah, I should say, by the way, that these arguments, these challenges are not unfamiliar to us here. So Some of this is very familiar. We also have people with master's degrees. They may not be schlepping Coca-Cola. They're more likely to be driving taxis. I think I could, at this stage, open up the floor to questions. So this lady was first. The question is, what is the feeling about your work among your Arab community?
Okay. I think, at the beginning, I had a lot of trouble, Working for the Prime Minister office, there are also other units at the Prime Minister office that are operating there. And to talk about economic development from the Prime Minister office, there is a mistrust, with the community. But, I think that we succeeded to decrease this mistrust significantly because we work closely with the local community, with the mayors, of the Arab towns and villages. We build programs together, and we implement these programs, in the field together. So I give them, the feeling that if we succeed together, and if we fail together. So we have joint targets, and we have joint goals, and I am part of the Arab society. I'm not, an outsider. So I take care of the Arab society, the same thing, as you are, mayor of a municipality. And I think we succeeded, to build a trust, a very good, trust with the community, mainly with the Arab business sector, with the mayor of the municipalities, and with the NGOs.
You know what, Ifat, how do your family and friends react to what you do? That seems to me not an unreasonable question, given what we were just asked.
It's a bit problematic, especially for my husband's side, which is more religious. I'm always saying that I build a better Israel for my kids. I have 3 kids, and I hope that in 30 years it will be a good place for my kids to live, a more tolerance, coexistence, diverse Israel. But the reactions are not always easy to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, we have, first of all, we have a program with the universities, with the Higher Council for Education in Israel, the Malag Vatat. Maybe you know Professor Manuel Trachtenberg, he is the head of this council. We have a program of 300 million shekels to attract Arabs, to come to the universities. There are different projects. I mean, we help, the Arab students with the Hebrew language. We help them with English. And we created last year a great fund. By the way, it's also together with the philanthropist from the UK, from the States, about 18 million shekel. We give scholarship for students in the first year, 10,000 shekel a year for 4 years. This is a new fund. We gave last year 650 scholarships for students, and this year we are going to give another 650 scholarships, for additional students for 2 main criteria: the socioeconomic situation of the students and the field that is he studying. We want to encourage them to study science and computer science and all these things, and to leave the teaching area and all these like social areas. So we have a lot of programs with all the universities in Israel, and that's why you see the numbers of Arabs in the universities is increasing, and the rate of 13% that I mentioned before is a result of our investments in the last year in this case.
We are working very closely with the university in order to recruit the students. I learned computer science and it was clear for me that in my second year, I'm going and finding a job in this area. It's not the same for Arab students that are not looking for a job, and they are sitting and learning to have very high grades. So we are working with the university in order to take those students when they are in the second degree and helping them during their first degree to find job, because it's easier to find job as in a student's positions than as graduate in those sectors.
We don't. We are not in any relation, with Israeli Arabs that live abroad, and they can, I don't know, give support to our projects. I mean, we don't deal with that. I don't have an example. Maybe Safa have. I don't have an answer for that. Regarding the national service, there is a government resolution, based on the Perry's Yaakov Perry, which is the Minister of Science, the government. It was a committee that he was heading, and the suggestions regarding the Arabs were to increase the number of Arabs doing national service from 3,000 to 7,000 by the year 2017. And it is implemented, and there are much more, like young Arab people that want to do the national service than we as the government give positions, for this program. So it is increasing, the number is increasing, and that is the governmental plan as today.
So the question is there discrimination against people who have not done military service in the job market?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
That was an easy one.
Very clear that most of the job positions, it says it's advantage if the candidate is coming from the intelligence force. Most of the job opening are mentioning this, and it's a problem not being in this club. The club of the army, the club of the technological units.
Yeah, I think that's really all that need be said about that. It's a problem.
When I started to work 2 years ago, I heard a lot the sentence that the Arab people don't want to work, especially the women. And as I said in my presentation, first we make something like research to identify the unmet needs. And in all of our mapping that we did, always we see that the people want to work, especially the women. And I can give an example. In East Jerusalem side, we have a pilot for a few months. And we expect, like in 3.5 months, we expect to have 20, 30, 50 people. For now, so far we have something like 400 people registered to have a service. About half of them are women. And I'm speaking about East Jerusalem Arab. It's not the regular community. So this is the answer. But we need to not ignore the challenges, the special and unique challenges that Arab women face. For example, the problem that Aiman mentioned, the transportation. It's difficult for Arab women to go from place to place without bus taking her. The men have someone work, he goes with him, he finds another way to be in time in their work. And our women still, it's more challenges for her, but they do want to work.
I want to add to that that we have done a lot of survey and research about this issue, and the cultural issue is there, but it's very limited. I mean, maybe 10%, or 20% even, of the Arab families, they have this traditional, barriers, that the husband doesn't want his wife, to be part of the labor market. But the majority of the Arab women, 80%, more than 80% of the Arab women are willing to be part of the labor market tomorrow morning. The main obstacle, again, is lack of job opportunities, near their residential areas. I mean, a woman from Sakhnin, which is in the north of Israel, can't drive, 2 hours to Tel Aviv, to get a job. she need, like a workplace or job, 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer, from her residential. If we give her transportation, all these things. So if we give transportation, and working places in the residential area, I can assure you that we can, tomorrow morning, integrate more than 70,000 Arab women into the Israeli labor market.
We are working closely with the Smada, with Zofen. I'm always saying that for a market, you need more than one basta. Basta is in English also? No? You need more than one store. So as long as there is a lot of stores in this market, it's a blessing for all of us. We are working with them together, and we are supporting each other.
We are also supporting Zofen by about 1 million shekel a year. So we work with Zofen, for the last 3 years, and they're doing a great job. They're, have a very good placement, of academic in the high-tech industry, and they work with us. They are a very strong partner, and they are part of our plans, of our, support, and they're doing a great job. They work now in Nazareth area, and now we're going to expand that, to the center of Israel and Triangle area, Muthallab, and we're expanding.
Okay, so the two questions are, here we have really quite stringent anti-discrimination legislation, so you're being asked if Israel has such legislation, and I'm going to add a little corollary to that. Is it enforced? And the second question is, I guess, how do you integrate someone from a small village coming to a large city for how do you prepare them? What do you do? So people are trying to picture it. They're looking for specifics. Do you want to tackle the legislation issue first?
There are laws, but they are only laws. Nobody's going and suing somebody, and the employers are doing it in an elegant way. It's an advantage to be a part of the intelligence force. It's an advantage. It's not a must. So they are writing and they are recruiting people in an elegant way that I know and they know that it's discrimination, but nobody can have proof that it's a discrimination. And regarding the second question, we are working with students on English, leadership, networking, career, also all the soft skills, and we are continue to support them 3 years from the minute they got the job. So we are there for them if there are any questions, issue is coming up.
Safa?
I think that it's the same answer for the two questions. It's a question of culture and not a question of law. The first question, as Ifat said, it's you can cover it. And I heard by my ears many times that people didn't know that I'm Arab woman and not Jewish woman, and they told me, I don't want Arabs here. So it's it's something that people use and say every day, but you say that in your club, So no one going to do with that anything. And the other thing is also about a person that coming from a small village and something like that. I'll give you an example. When we work with people and when we work with employers, we explain to them that Arab people, when someone Arab come to interview, he doesn't look in your eyes because he or she respect you, and not because he's tired or he's not interested on the job or he's something else. So we try, personally have like a conflict because I don't want to be another person in order to be accepted. But on the other hand, I need to be aware to another culture in order to deal with these issues from a strong point and not from weakness. So that's the way that we work with our participants.
Two small remarks. I mean, there's, in addition to what Safani Fat said, there's a commission for equal working opportunities at the Ministry of Economy. That's her mandate, okay, to deal with these issues, not only for Arabs, for, or the Israelis. And it's not a powerful commission, but it's there. It's new. This is five years old. And they're trying to do their best, in these issues. Regarding the students, I mean, we have programs, we have, as example, career centers that we do within the universities, to make the life of an Arab student, easier. We have, we call it in Hebrew, shnat mechina. How do you say that?
Pre-academic year.
Pre-academic year, that the student can come, 1 year before he starts to study at the university, and we help him, with all, what he needs. So there are a lot of projects, to deal with these issues. Yeah, I mean, we have the government, it calls employment track. We give subsidies to companies who hire Arabs and Haredim, Orthodox. We give them 25% of the cost of the wage for 30 months. So this is a relatively attractive track, and we succeeded in the last 3 years to create more than 4,000 new jobs, through this track. That's one thing. Another major thing that we're trying to do now is we want to give the employers, the companies, to hire Arab students in the last year of their educational program. And we want to give them about 40% subsidies of the cost of the wage of these students. And I think this is a new program that Safa is dealing with this program also. And we will finance it, next year.
I think that people that live abroad sometimes does not have the whole picture and the daily thing that's going on in Israel. It's, I don't have a problem with, I didn't hear someone from Israel telling me we don't want service from Israel government because it's a normalization. We don't have it there. I'm not talking about the West Bank. I'm talking about Israel. So maybe people that live here, they are not in daily contact with the issues, so maybe it's different. You can bring them to Israel, we can make a tour, we can come and talk to them. I don't know, you need to do things.
Yeah, I think we do get a very distorted vision here of what actual life in Israel is like.
To us, all the years, it was hard, but we could do it, to open courses for Arabs only. But to work in mixed cities, to work in Lod, to work in Akko, and to say that we want 50% Arabs and 50% Jewish, not 3 Arabs, it was always a challenge. I think that we should go to this direction, to develop programs for mixed groups in mixed cities, because all of us, them and us, have the same issue of finance issue, about finding a job, about raising the kids. So when having those courses, you can know the other, you can see the other, you can see that they have the same challenge we have, and you are doing it in a direct way.
Regarding the mixed schools, I mean, there's also the model of hand in hand in Israel, which is a Jewish and Arab school. And my 3 children are there in this school. And this is a great model, which is 24 students in the classroom, 12 Arabs and 12 Jews, 1 Arab teacher and 1 Jewish teacher. And starts from the early ages. In Jerusalem, they you can finish, like high school in Jerusalem, but in Kfar Qara, where my children are, until the sixth grade. And it is a great model. Where's the problem? The problem is that we, the Arab society, we want this model. And the waiting list, of Arab families to be part of this school is very, very long. What is the problem, the challenge? To get Jewish families to participate, and to bring their children to such schools. So the change should be in the Jewish community in Israel, to accept this model. And if we do that, I think it's a great start, for shared community in Israel.
My name is Mikhail Khouri, and my job is the Consul for Economic Affairs, the Israeli Consul for Economic Affairs here in Canada. And just wanted to add something. First of all, I'm trying to promote trade and economic relations between Canadian and Israeli companies in general. And one of the elements that I'm trying to push here is to try to create contacts between Israeli business people and especially the Chamber of Commerce and Arab business people that I know. Some of them are relatives of mine. There was a word was mentioned here about that diaspora, the Arab diaspora. There are a lot of Israeli Arabs that came to Canada and established their business and their families here. So in the first quarter of next year, there will be a seminar for Israeli and Canadian Arabs and Jews coming to try to find ways to work together and looking for opportunities to work together. That's one point that I wanted to share with you about. And additional thing is I'm aware of all the efforts that government of Israel is trying to do, and not only the government, but also the third, let's say, we call it the third authorities, not exactly authority, but all the NGOs that are trying to promote more involvement of the Arab communities to be more involved in the Israeli society, economy, so on and so forth. All these efforts are taking a place in the last few years more and more, and I believe we will see positive results. We are already seeing positive results, and we are going to see success stories in the next few years. That's what I wanted to share with you about. Thank you.
It has to go to her. I'd like to say one thing before I hand over the microphone for Jeffrey to wrap this up. You can put up whatever you want on the internet. The question is getting someone to read it. What Karen said is something for people here to think about. Those of us who do talk about these issues know that we are often met with anger as a response. But nobody's going to hear about this if we don't talk about it. So you brave your mother-in-law's anger. You ruin the family dinner if necessary, but you talk and you tell people about this. And also, the Jewish community does a terrific job of coming down hard on the media when it doesn't like coverage of Israel because it is seen as not representing the government's side. We are not coming down hard on them for not publicizing this. And I think we're working on this now, but I don't think you're seeing a lot about these positive initiatives in our press. If you want it, boy, are they responsive to pressure now. They really want readers. If you want to know about this stuff, you have to say, why aren't you covering this? Which means informing yourself about it first. So there's lots that we can do here. You just have to get used to being yelled at a lot. Fortunately, the place provides training for that. Thank you so much. For your wonderful presentations on something that, as you can see, much of the audience here knows almost nothing about.